Good evening, friends. Today, we are going to talk about one of the most important topics of polity. As we all know that in India, we follow the parliamentary form of government. Yet, there lies the necessity of president, and analogous to that, we have one post in the state level that is known as governor. While preparing for competitive examination and studying this topic, often we get confused, and that is why I am here today to make a comparative analysis between the president and the governor. So without any further delay, guys, let us start the topic. So first of all, both of them are constitutional posts, or we can consider it as the highest post in the Union of India, highest constitutional post in the Union of India. Guys, the president of India has an explicit mention in Article 52 of the Constitution, whereas the governor is mentioned in Article 153. Both of them occupies the highest constitutional post at the central level and at the state level respectively. However, guys, these are only nominal heads and the real power lies in the hands of the Prime Minister and the Chief Minister that we are going to discuss in the upcoming slide. So guys, the provisions related to the President are mentioned from Article 52 to Article 78, whereas the provisions related to the governor of a particular state has been mentioned in Article 153 from Article 153 to Article 167. Now let us understand, guys, moving towards the next slide, guys. See, let us understand what is the position and the role of both the constitutional posts. As you can see here, it is a picture of our President Draupadi Murmu. So she is the nominal head of the country, also known as de jure head, nominal head or de jure head, and the real head or the de facto head is what? The Prime Minister of our country. Moving towards the next, that is the governor. Governor is the head of the state, and similarly he is also the nominal head and the real head is our chief minister in the state. Okay, moving towards the next slide, guys, let us understand how the appointment, how president is elected and how governor is appointed. Remember, guys, the president is elected whereas the governor is appointed. Okay, so this is the difference in this analogous post. Often we consider president and governor as analogous, but this is one of the key difference between both of them, is that the president is elected by an electoral college consisting of MPs and MLAs. So this electoral college consists of MPs and MLAs. However, MLCs, which means members of legislative councils, they do not take part. And as far as the MPs are concerned, these are only elected MPs. No nominated MPs take part in the presidential election. Guys, in Rajya Sabha, the strength is 250 and out of this 250, 238 are elected and 12 are nominated. So these 12 nominated members, they do not take part or they are not a part of the electoral college that basically elects the president. Whereas the governor of India, the governor of a particular state, we can consider he as being the agent to the central government and he is appointed by the president of India. As far as the term is concerned, both of them have a term of 5 years, president have a term of 5 years, and we say that the term of governor is also in generally 5 years. However, he holds office as long as he has the confidence of the president, or we can say the pleasure of the president. Moving towards the next slide, guys, we have the oath and administration. Whenever you're holding any constitutional post, you must take an oath of the Constitution of India. So that applies to president, that applies to the governor as well. And there's one individual who is to administer that oath. So since president is being the highest constitutional post, who is going to administer his or her oath, then the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of India administers the oath of the President of India, and in his absence, the senior most judge of the Supreme Court of India. Same goes with Governor, the oath administered by the Chief Justice of High Court. The Chief Justice of High Court administers the oath of the Governor of a state. Now, as we have already discussed, the real executive power, Council of Ministers headed by the PM. Okay, he is the nominal executive and holds the nominal powers. Okay, whereas the governor is the nominal head of the state and the real power lies in the hands of Council of Ministers headed by the Chief Minister of that particular state. Moving towards the next slide, guys. There are certain legislative powers also which the president as well as the governor holds. What are these? That the president addresses the union parliament at the beginning of a new parliamentary session. Okay, at the very beginning, after general elections, the parliament when begins functioning, the first address and the summoning is given by the President of India. Whereas in case of state government, it is done by the governor. So we can understand that in most of the cases they have an analogous function, but the difference lies is one is functioning at the central level while the other is functioning in their respective states. Now there are certain exclusive powers which the president holds while in relation to passing of bills. These are known as veto powers. Three types of veto powers the president has. These are absolute veto, suspensive veto and pocket veto. In these powers, what he can do, he can basically withhold, reject the parliamentary bills which have been passed from their respective houses. And as far as the governor is concerned, they do not have any exclusive veto power. However, in certain cases, they can reserve the bill for the presidential consideration. Moving towards the next slide, guys, let us understand that what are the emergency powers and pardoning powers the president holds. Guys, the emergency powers is only vested in the union and the president holds it. However, this is only on paper. The real power is in the hands of the Prime Minister. The proclamation of emergency, of course, it is done by the President, but on the written advice of the PM and Council of Ministers. Along with that, the President of India can give pardoning. He has several types of pardoning powers where he can totally absolve all the charges, he can reduce the sentence, he can change the nature of the sentences or charges. These are the pardoning powers of the president mentioned under Article 72. However, if we talk about governor, he do not have any emergency power because emergency powers are vested in the hands of the union government. Governor can recommend president's rule in a particular area, in his particular state mentioned under Article 356. President rule is also known as state emergency when the state machinery fails due to various reasons. Article 161 tells us about the pardoning power of the governor. However, this pardoning power is only exclusive to the laws for the violation of laws mentioned under state list. So he cannot exceed his jurisdiction if the criminal charges are for violating any subjects under the union list. So this is the basic difference between the emergency powers and the pardoning powers. Now what is the relationship between these two is that the governor acts as a link between the state and the center. As I've told you earlier, guys, that the governor is considered as an agent to the central government in a state. The president acts on the advice of the Union Council of Ministers and the governor acts on the advice of the State Council of Ministers. So guys, this was a holistic comparison about the president and the governor. So if you want more such interesting topics, stay connected with Edufy.